Welcome. This is your monthly Tim Mooney Rep Update, or Tim's Real-Time Monthly Update, in which I talk about all the stuff going by. It's late. It's like December 18th or something, and I'm finally getting this out to you. It's been a really busy start to the month, and this is my mega email period. Here's what happens is I get back from the road at the end of the fall semester, and I've usually between Thanksgiving and middle of December is my span to catch up on the email campaign, and I'm racing to get it done before everybody goes away for holiday breaks. Now, it's a little dicey as to whether finals week was last week or this week, so I was fighting to get it done by the end of last week, and I actually finished it up on last Sunday night. So anyway, I'm here. Last month, if we're talking about the month of November, I had a couple of performances. One in Easton, Maryland, in which I did Breakneck Hamlet at the public library there. Had a great time. And then another Breakneck Hamlet in Eastern Kentucky, Morehead State University. That was even better, actually much better. I had, number one, I had already done the one in Easton. I hadn't done Breakneck Hamlet for over a year. My best estimate is like 13 months before performing it in Easton. And by the time I got to Eastern Kentucky, I was a little more secure in my lines and confident in the performance. And the students there had just gotten cast for Hamlet. They're doing Hamlet next spring, and so they were interested on a whole different level because they were watching to see the roles that they were going to be playing, how might they interpret their lines, how might they make sense of those lines that seem to make no sense until you really sit down and memorize them. So they were really fascinated, and a nice standing ovation response. Had a great time. I was on a performance high for about 2 days after that. I have been AWOL in terms of talking to you guys, but I was getting about 40 states written to thereabouts. And I'm doing a new thing with the email campaign. I used to send everybody the same email, which meant that I had to keep it fairly generic because I write to theater teachers, English teachers, French teachers, environmental teachers, sometimes speech teachers, sometimes people in the adminisphere, as I call them, the deans, the principals, the chairs of departments, or the student activities folks. And so this time, though, I broke it down into 4 different emails. One that generally goes to the theater people in the adminisphere because they might have an interest in any of the shows that I might do. The other going to French teachers focusing on Molière, English teachers focusing on my 4 Shakespeare plays, and to the environmental teachers who would want to book Man Cave. Speaking of Man Cave, I have 2 online performances coming up. So if you are, wherever you are, if you haven't been able to see Man Cave so far, you can catch it online. First is December 30th, there will be an audio version of Man Cave being broadcast on KKFI. It's a Kansas City, I assume, public radio station on a program called Eco Talk. So December 30th at 6 p.m. Central. It will be on there, and I assume podcast thereafter that you can pick it up as well. Perhaps more importantly than that, February 5th, I will be doing it in Los Angeles. For my Los Angeles friends, please come out and see it live. Otherwise, I may be doing it alone. But beyond that, that one is going to be live streamed online so that you can catch it. You can only catch it during the live stream. That will be at 8 p.m. On the Whitefire Theater website, in which you can catch it live. That live stream costs $9.99, and you can only sign up to buy that purchase that streaming option on the day of the show. So set your calendars for February 5th. Have it remind you when that day comes up to sign on Whitefire Theater. It's their 2020 Solo Fest, and you can buy your ticket then to watch at 8 p.m. Pacific time, which would be 9 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm doing the exercise bike. My latest thing is when I'm doing the exercise bike, usually I read, but I finished the couple of books that I was working on and have shifted over to reciting while on the exercise bike. I increased my distance by 6 minutes, my time on the bike, which is likewise a increase in distance and calories, by 6 minutes every day, and currently I'm up to 48 minutes, and I have been working on my lines for Shakespeare's Histories, 10 epic plays at a breakneck pace. I use my Christmas time off or my semester break time to work on plays that I haven't performed for a while. It's been about a year and a half since the last time I did Shakespeare's Histories, maybe even more, and so I'm getting that back up to the point where it's familiar to my tongue. Simultaneously, I'm working on The Greatest Speech of All Time, which has been about maybe a year since I've performed. It's getting back up into performance shape again, and likewise, Breakneck Hamlet I finally got to do, so I haven't rehearsed this since I did it previously. Man Cave I'm trying to sustain, and I'm also working on Breakneck Julius Caesar. I think there's maybe, Moliere Than Thou. I think I'm gonna start getting some performances, and I know I've got one booking at Ball State in Indiana coming up that I'm looking forward to. Also, I'm working on the memorization for, this is what I'm calling my APAP showcase, in which I am doing selections from both Breakneck Julius Caesar and Man Cave as part of my showcase in New York. It's the big end of the year, actually the beginning of the year, January, event for presenters to go and figure out what they want to book for their school in the coming year. So I'm going to be there performing that on, when is I'm performing that? On Friday, 9:20 p.m. I guess I didn't put the date on this particular flyer. On one side it's Man Cave, and on the other side it's Breakneck Julius Caesar. But it's the Friday of that event, which is like the 9th or the 10th of January. Those of you who are on Patreon may have already noticed that I have posted the audio file for the podcast that's coming out on KKFI on December 30th, so you Patreon members can hear it already. Those of you who are seeing this who are not yet Patreon members, please come sign on. For just $1, you get in on all the perks of membership, including like the early peek. I say early peek even as I know you would be listening to it, the early listen to the podcast that's coming up on December 30th. You are also eligible for the drawing, in which once a month I draw a name from the candy jar to figure out who gets the free living room performance of a show of their choice. We're going to have that drawing in just a minute while I check to see if there's anything else. Oh, by the way, happy Impeachment Day, everyone. As I'm speaking this, the Congress is arguing about when, where, how to impeach the president. Still working on I, Asimov. Asimov's 100th birthday is coming up in just about 2 weeks on January 2nd, and I have been working away to trim his autobiography down to under 24,000 words. As of today, it's at 27,250. So I'm going to do a reading on the 2nd of January. Please come join me for that if you're in the area. Check in with me about where and when and how that's going to happen. I'm working on, I have a new way of doing my to-do list. I grabbed this little pad of paper from a conference I was at recently, and I put a list of things that I'm going to work on every day. And as I do them, I cross them out and I cross them out, and I never get all the way through the list. But at the end of the day, I flip back to the top of the thing and I list the things I managed to accomplish that day, followed by an exclamation point, so that that exclamation point is my registration of the excitement I feel of actually getting something accomplished. And I think it feels much more satisfying to feel that little burst of excitement when I put an exclamation point on something, and then the following day I transcribe to the next page what is left, plus whatever was on that list that was a recurring event, like rehearsing lines for Shakespeare's History's 10 epic plays at a breakneck pace. I'm finally switching over to put email addresses on a like an Excel sheet, so that I can send things via one of those email programs, rather than just manually send 20,000 emails. It is as taxing as it sounds, except that I don't actually have to type out the entire email. I take a basic email and rework it and just change the salutation and sometimes stick in personal notes. But I'm gonna go finally to the large kind of fun email campaign, in which I can attach pictures and videos and links and stuff to it, but it's a little less personal. So I apologize for the depersonalization of my process. After 17 years of doing this stuff on the road and writing manual emails, I'm realizing that I'm spending about 1/4 of my year really chained to the computer, and that time might be spent chasing down an agent for the new Mary Sidney play that I'm working on. That's kind of the month gone by, and so it's time for the monthly drawing. We've got, let me acknowledge, we've got two. Last month I acknowledged Gary Konis is now with us, and we've also added Michael T. Foley, brilliant playwright. He's an amazing performer, it turns out. I've produced a couple of his plays way back when, but he's taken to doing one-person shows and does solo festivals in New York and routinely sells out performances and wins Best Solo Performance. So thank you for joining us, Michael T. Foley, and good luck with the drawing. I did not reprint all of these pieces of paper this time around. I don't know if any of you can see your name, but this time around I wrote Michael Foley's name on the back of someone who's won already. So who knows? Maybe that's a lucky piece of paper. So I'm digging around and I've got one, and I don't know who it is, and I'm going to bring it up into my this one we're going to draw again, because Jim Lucas has been drawn twice before, and I thought maybe this is the Michael T. Foley one, but he's written on the other Jim Lucas slip, because Jim Lucas is registered twice because he has been giving so much. Thank you, Jim, for your patronage. I have another one now. Jacqueline Gargiulio. I never pronounce her name right. Jacqueline, you are the winner. Jacqueline has been supportive so much over the years. I'm so thrilled and happy. Jacqueline, I have to say that in my sexiest French accent. Jacqueline is a good friend from the Pathways group that I occasionally do seminars with, and she's been incredibly supportive, and she's in the area here in Chicago, and I may even be seeing her very soon if she's going to that karaoke party that I hear is going on in the next couple of days. So congratulations, thanks very much, and as I finish speaking, we're going to run the credits for everybody who has given to the Patreon campaign over the year. It's been a year now that I've been doing a Patreon campaign. Those of you who are seeing this who are not yet signed on with Patreon, I hope you'll please come join us. Patreon.com/Tim Mooney Rep. Or just go to Patreon, search on Tim Mooney, and you'll find me. There's lots of goodies, books like I've been flashing past you already, t-shirts, coffee mugs, different stuff. So thanks very much. Love you guys. Happy holidays.